Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Stephen Four, Mike Haspil, and Jason Craze.
He didn't do what he did. The 10-minute pause for what?
Got him.
Hey, what's happening, everybody?
Yeah, I'm here too.
Me too. What's happening, boys?
The entire show. Love it.
Yeah, basically. That's it. All right. Well, good podcast. Oh,
Talk to you guys later.
Yeah, good to be here.
Yeah. So I think we got a good show for you. We were literally like, oh, we got too much stuff to talk about. We gotta squeeze it all in. But I mean, we got new Eldars. Kenny just got back from SoCal. We got FAQs for Guard, of course. We got big time news coming out of the industry in general with FFG and Wizkids even. So I mean, there's lots to talk about. I know Haspil's chomping at the bit, I'm sure, to talk about some tabletop market watch there. But I wanted to definitely talk about the new Wizkids thing, and I know Kenny's going to crack out about it too. So Haspil,
I'm actually going to let Jason crack out about it first, and then I'll let it come back around so I can calm myself down. Appropriate talk.
You're going to allow his crack level to keep your crack level under control,
because he's gonna look at it from a business perspective, because that's, Jason has different, and I'm gonna look at it from a total crack addiction. So I'm gonna let you guys do your thing.
All right, well let's get the FFG thing out of the way. So Haspil, what happened today in the Fantasy Flight Games world?
Yeah, so FFG announced that they were doing like a FFG digital branch of their company, where they're going to put out some of their tabletop games as digital games, just straight up computer games. Some of these already exist. Like you can get like That's My Fish, some of the smaller games and stuff like that on iOS. Elder Sign is on Steam. They have a couple of other games on there that are out already. But I'm thinking, they could put out some big ones. Descent, would be one that I would love to see. And of course, the big one in the room is X-Wing. I mean, can you imagine actually playing X-Wing with your buddies on Steam, folks that are in different states? I have that issue. A lot of my friends that I game with are, they don't live in Colorado. They live all over the place. So that would be really, really cool. And I'm completely excited about it. And I hope they release stuff. They also said something like they were going to release more games that had a digital component to them. And the only one I can think of off the top of my head that is like that is the XCOM board game, which is a ton of fun. But you do need to have the app, which is a pro and a con. I think it's a heck of a lot of fun, and it keeps the game original and hard, having the app for it. So maybe they'll release more stuff like that to allow you maybe a single player experience for stuff. I would love to see like a digital version of Citadels. I mean, that's a game that is just fantastic, but I don't know. There's a lot of bluffing in that game. So I don't know how they would pull that off, but I'm anxious I would really, really like to see a digital version of X-Wing. I pray that's what they're doing.
Yeah, there's a program out there, and the name eludes me right now, but it's a virtual tabletop simulator, and Vassal. And you can play X-Wing on Vassal because there's a lot of people that have ported over all of the cards and everything, and it's real clunky, but I got to admit it's still fun, right? I mean, it is still kind of a way that you can test out lists and see how everything plays out on the board. And if they had something that was actually streamlined and had a good interface, I think that would be great. I think it would appeal to that crowd.
It's there. You can get your fix.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go to the store, you can't get a game, you can, I think, again, for just testing out lists for things like tournaments, you can get a lot more play time if you can do it at midnight before you go to bed, get in a quick game, with a buddy across the pond. If you got people that are play testing over there, it's a great resource. I'm stoked to hear about it.
So what you're saying is it's good because you can play it with no pants on.
I don't like pants.
Pants are a myth.
Pants are a myth. Clown.
No, I think it'll be great if they do. There's no saying they will, but they definitely indicated that they would port over some of their successful titles. You know, the sky's the limit. You got Rune Wars, you got future Star Wars Legions, you got Armada, all that stuff.
Mansions of Madness, you know, some of those games too. I would love, digital versions of those games. To be honest, one of the ones I would like to see, but they don't have the license anymore, so we're not going to see it, would be Forbidden Stars. But they don't have the license anymore, so we're not going to see that one.
We're not going to talk about that. But bringing us into that is somebody else to add some of the licenses from that FFG used to previously have for Relic and Fury of Dracula, right?
Yep.
Wizkids picked up the licensing for those. They also promised 2 new board games based on 40K, and those existing licenses they picked up. Now it looks like Talisman GW still holding on to, and they had announced that would be coming out towards the end of this year, but we hadn't heard anything else about it since around February and March time. But that definitely opens the door up to a lot of things. Like, we don't know exactly what WizKids is going to develop with Games Workshop. I mean, everybody's like, I don't want WizKids clicks, but I think there's a certain amount of people out there that maybe secretly do want WizKids clicks.
Dude, let me tell you what. I know it's been a while since we've brought up Talisman. What a fucking fun game that is.
Mm-hmm.
It is an absolute blast.
Until you get turned into a toad, and then
it's even more fun when it happens to somebody at the table that you're like, I knew that would happen, and then you're twice as pissed when it happens to you.
Yeah,
but they will produce the 40K version of that, which is a Relic.
Yeah.
So,
which I like better than Talisman.
So you're saying there's people out there who don't want clicks?
Click 40K. I would imagine there's a few people, but I imagine there's a lot more people that secretly want it.
That's what we talked about in the webcast. Me and Rob, I've been talking about it for years. Fucking years, man. The crack level, the dopamine release of a collectible miniature pre-painted click board game, because I was such a big HeroClix fan that I thought it was one of the perfect games. We had to, as it evolved over the years with the way the superpowers worked, stacked with the team abilities, with the cards, on a grid system, on a cool map from a comic book. It was beautiful. But the collectability, the random draws, the Magic the Gathering feeling of ripping open a box. Man, it better be this. I played indie clicks, bro. That was a failed system because they couldn't get Todd McFarlane to sign off on Spawn. Because I guess he wanted some crazy deal where he wanted royalties on every miniature that would go out, like some LE miniature. And they're like, no, we can't. And instead they went with Hellboy as to launch their game as one of the subsidiaries. Because now, they have everything Street Fighter clicks, Halo clicks, everything. But this is like when we just had Marvel and DC and then they got indie. It failed because they couldn't get Spawn. But I even played that. I opened 1,000 boxes of indie clicks to find my unique Hellboy. I'm like, dog.
Decisions had to be made. Do I eat this week or do I commit to keep finding Hellboy?
I committed. I bought literally every box of HeroClix in that store. I bought them by threes. And then finally there was only 2 boxes left. And I was like, well, I'm into this for $500. But I'm gonna get those 2 boxes. I don't give a fuck. And he was in one of those 2 boxes. So the dopamine release. Oh my God. Euphoria.
Yo, do me a favor. Before we go too far down this path, will you please tell us a story that you're talking about? Hod would go in, I think is who it would, and would just release. Yeah,
Hod and David would go into the store, and I get the new Mech Warrior click game or my old game store in Florida. The new Infinity Challenge clicks would come in, or Monsters of Madness, and they literally would be like, "Yo, here's $30," and they just get their things off the shelf, their boxes, and they would just rip them open, get the dopamine release, sit there for a while, enjoying it, and then casually just start pulling the miniatures out over time and looking at them and cracking out to them. They almost didn't care.
So it wasn't even rip it open, dump it out, and start finding the guy to buy another box. It was literally rip it open.
Yes.
That was it. I'm good now. Looking around, getting a drink. Oh, now I'll look and see what I got.
And so, I mean, and I know, and I've always said it, like those are the types of games that are easy to play and difficult to master. A click game with a grid, a board grid, those types of combos I've always thought were very competitive, very awesome. The collectability. I've been campaigning in my own Beats Lab like for years. I'm like, my God, if I can get like a Necromunda, Quizamunda, or Inquisitor or some 40K click game that was collectible with LE models that I can go to select GW tournaments to get, I would crack out on that. I know other people would, and I think it's $1 billion business, man. Like, and now GW is like, hey, we're gonna work with Wizkids. I'm like, is it finally gonna happen at some point in the future? Like, what do you? I mean, tell me it's gonna happen.
Hold on one second. I get it. I'm getting an email. Click 40K on the rise. Here it is. Just got the email.
Breaking. You're here first.
Breaking news. I think we'd have to look at. I mean, like, I don't know what the click market is like nowadays. I don't see it. I don't have any visibility towards it. I know that none of the game stores that I have in my local area are doing anything like that. So I don't know if it's all, now it's marketed to kids at their own houses and stuff, and maybe the demographic has changed for it. It's just not something I see. Whereas I can remember the BattleTech, the Dark Age clicks being having a competitive circuit and playing in tournaments and things like that, and then that went away. But I guess we'd have to see. I like that in concept. I love the collectability of it for a minute, and then I tend to find that those games aren't balanced at all, and so they just string you out for the next OP release of something. X-Wing suffers from that a little bit. It's not a clicks game, but same kind of thing. So it would be interesting to see if it would get the kind of uptick that would make it, survivable long term, or if it would just be kind of a gateway drug for.
I think it could, and from the business side, I think it's easily a gateway. They can use it as a gateway to get more and younger people interested in our universe. That is the funnest, coolest narrative universe there is. I think that's a great business model. I also think there could be longevity, but it could stay in that market. You'd have seasonal releases like Magic, and even HeroClix did that. They come out with new sets and invalidate old sets, or say for this tournament we're only playing this set and above. And we said, yeah, that's fine, man. And I think that's the marketability, is that it would be a gateway. You would find these people, bring them into the new market, and there would be cool things like starter sets, like an X-Men starter set. Where you have like the old X-Men First Class. That's not collectible because you know what you're going to get, but it's like a really good deal for the points in game, but not OP. And that got people into it. And I can imagine doing that with cool Inquisimunda like factions or 40K factions, and getting people into it. And then with little lore cards and then URLs. And before you know it, we've got an entire generation of, 13 to 18 year olds who are gamers now playing miniature wargaming.
I think that is a good standpoint. The problem that I foresee with it is that being on the more recent game store side of things, a lot of the LE stuff that came out from the events was super over the top, ridiculously broken. And if you did
Forge World?
No, the clicks.
No, I know what you mean, but it's like, that exists. Like,
that is basically, I see what you're saying. That's basically like Forge World. So you have to watch your your restrictions. I don't know that and stuff like that. But as long as you do it for what it is, and there's nothing even saying they couldn't put out like a Fast Forces, little packet with like a Rhino and just see how it does. Like a Rhino, like a block of Space Marines versus another Chaos, like a small scale or something, and just see how it does. I don't know. They didn't let Fantasy Flight do it, so I doubt they'll.
Dude, I know. That's what it's all gonna be IP. But I remember we had you would have like a giant click that was like a dual size click in there, and you couldn't tell it was in there. And some clicks came out with transport capacity, like he's a transporter. We can literally get a Rhino, right? And and you can get like Command Rhino LE or a unique. Oh my god, dude! I'm so hyped.
Well, didn't WizKids do the Star Trek game?
They did. They licensed it from FFG, or the mechanics of it.
Right. But you could do BFG maybe?
They could do BFG just because I'm not sure. They keep being coy about whether it's in development or not, and they keep saying, "Well, these things, they take time, they take years."
Yeah,
and
but even like they allowed FFG to make some ships, in Forbidden Stars and stuff. There were little Titan models and little ships and stuff.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Well, I think GW and of course I'm not an insider there anymore, but I would like to think that they haven't really changed. They're not going to release any product that could be mistaken for their core product and leech sales. So I doubt you will see figures of Space Marines in anything other than a bust and relic. I doubt you will see anything that would be relatable directly to 40K or Age of Sigmar in a miniature form in any other game. I could be wrong, but I just don't see GW doing that. Now, Battlefleet Gothic, different deal. That doesn't intrude. It uses the IP, it uses the universe, it's fun, it's narrative. It doesn't intrude on any sales that are currently being had of GW product. There's nothing out there that represents battle cruisers and whatever the hell else you got. That's all in story. And unless it's the old BFG stuff, doesn't exist. Who cares? If they can find an avenue to generate some capital where they don't have to do the molds and the figures and all of that at GW's end, that seems like a plus. But if it's anything that is licensed where they're not getting the lion's share of the profit and it can also steal sales away from products that they have on shelves, they won't do it. They'd be stupid to. So for that reason, you're not going to see 40K clicks. I'm just here to say it. You just won't. Because if you see a Space Marine in a box on a base, painted or not, click or not, it makes people not go to the Games Workshop store and buy Space Marines on a base off the shelves there.
No.
So, I'm a parade rainer, but that's not GW's, steez. They haven't ever done it before. I doubt they'll ever do that.
No, I feel you. That's why I wanted your perspective, because I figured you'd have that. Like this, it's a wish list.
Yeah. Well, now some of like Titan clicks, that could be a thing. You can, but again, it's stuff that you don't find people walking into GW to spend money on, and that opens up a world. There are things out there, but it would be like BFG. It would be
Titan clicks would be.
Like Titan clicks could be cool too. That would be pretty
like
cool.
Mech Warrior back in the day, man.
Yeah,
just got another email. 40K clicks, not fucking happening.
breaking.
Proven rumor. Yeah, I don't like to be the guy to rain on the parade. I just, from a business aspect, it would be a bad move by them, because then I would have the choice of, do I spend this money at the GW store or do I spend it over here at this store for the clicks? And it would be a balance in my head that's like, well, it's almost the same purchase. Whereas if it were BFG, you'd be like, I'm going to do this and this because I need my Space Marines and I want to try out BFG. So.
That's the tact. That means it will do the same thing. You'll get people wanting to expand the universe, and I'm happy. Mech Warrior, bro. I have my Atlas around here somewhere still, man.
Hell yeah.
People love robot clicks kicking ass. For the love of God, though, GW, don't let or Wizkids, you do get a Titan click IP. Please keep it on a grid, and if you don't, for the love of God, don't do measuring from the center of the base.
Send measuring drives.
Measuring from the center of the base.
For the love of God, don't do it. I don't want to see.
I will fight you.
I will fucking beat your ass, dude.
I will fight you
over that game system. That is the worst.
So horrible.
Yeah, it could go bad. Well, we've got some maybe more conventional, I guess, tabletop market watch stuff for next week's Games Workshop releases. Now, of course, this week will be all the Eldar stuff. They have 6 different flavors of dice for $11.25, the Codex for $40, Eldret for $25, also the cards, the data cards for $15. But going on pre-sale this week will be the 2 new Shadespire expansions, the Oruks and the Undead stuff.
Sepulchral Guard.
Yes, what she said. I wasn't even going to try to say that word. We all know I can barely talk. Somebody tried to get me to say some Spanish stuff in stream the other day, and I was like, bro, I can barely speak English. Not happening. They're $30 each. Then it looks like they're coming out with dice sets as well. Stormcast, Khorne, Orcs, and the Death Rattle, all $10 each, which, theoretically, depending on how they look, you could use for games of Age of Sigmar. So that would be neat to see.
No, you can't.
Unless,
well, because the dice in Shadespire are different. They're like X-wing dice. They're symbols, not.
Oh, that's right. You're absolutely right. Yep, they got the shields and they got that. Yep. Okay, so disregard. But
speaking of not using dice in 40K, have you guys tried using the new Death Guard dice yet?
I have not. How are they?
They're fucking awesome. First, I'm just gonna give them that compliment first. They're very cool. I've got a whole set. They're clearly a squishy plush encased in a box. So when you touch them, you get this awesome feeling of like pus, like soft, squishy pus coming out of a hard ridge.
Oh, that's fresh.
So which means the design of the dice is literally the dice is clamped over this plush, so that you can create this effect. They're very light and weird, and they kind of like almost like when they rattle, they're almost like teeth. The way they sound, it's really cool. They're very light and they bounce a lot, which honestly I think is probably better. Like dice that bounce more is probably better for randomization on the table, but. And after you roll them a few times, you can read the pips pretty easily, but they are kind of hard to read because it's like how many pustules is equal to the pips, and they're not perfectly lined up, and they're not perfectly symmetrical. So you throw a bunch of dice in there, and you're like, I'm not sure what I'm looking at, brother. I don't know if we can use these dice. So
yeah, do this one at a time with me. What number is this? I agree. What number is that? I agree.
The 5 is hard to see. So it's so they're great wound counters is what I was getting to. Not great dice rolling. But it sucks because they're like the coolest fucking dice they ever made.
Well, it's cool that they put out the themed dice like that. You know what I mean? That are themed to be, plague dice.
No, absolutely. Just a side note on dice.
Yeah, no, that's a good point there. So yep, those dice are coming out, and two new packs of the card sleeves, which are the standard card sleeves for, I guess, North American board game. I think it's called standard. So you got the orcs and the undead for those as well, and that's our releases for next week. Now, I would just like to speculate here. It's we do have an extra week in between this stuff coming out and the Tyranid stuff coming out. So there is a possibility that we will finally see that missing
Grey Knights release. Oh
yeah. Along with the missing Death Guard unit. It is possible that they'll pair something else in there because I couldn't see them just putting out one thing, but hey, you never know. It seems ripe. The time seems ripe.
I cannot wait for this new NID. I'm just telling you what, I see everything, the writing on the wall, all the epic codexes and indexes, turning, from an index to the codex. It's looking great. Armies are getting cool as shit. I cannot wait. GW, you have one job here. Don't fuck this up. One job. The true good guys of the universe need to be taken care of. That's all I'll say.
Dramatic
dead air.
So I'm going to try something right now. I was inspired as we're talking about these shitty dice. So right now live, I'm going to take some Army Painter Army Painter Strong Tone, and I'm going to wash these pustules on the dice with it.
But shouldn't you prime them?
No. Like if I have to prime the fucking dice, this is dead to me.
Yeah, that's true. We're not even big.
I'm literally just gonna wash these pox marks and see what happens, and see if I get enough definition that I can read these motherfuckers. And because you remember the old game science dice that guy used to make, and he had an awesome video on why you should use these dice instead of round edge dice.
Yeah, they're still around too.
But the numbers don't have any ink in them. So like,
you had to like use wax and like.
So he was like, he had to use a crayon or something to just like kind of just like rub it in, and it would fall. It would find its way into the crack. So I remember I bought like 75 of those from one time, and I was like, dog, I'm not gonna crayon rub 75 dice on 6 sides. That's ridiculous. So I have applied the wash, and now I'm gonna kind of just wipe away some of the excess with a paper towel and see if it settles in these recesses. And then I'm going to post a picture on Facebook immediately. And I'll let you guys know. Going dark.
Had to happen.
Yeah,
had to happen.
Well, I think going by the order that Kenny laid out there,
we were.
I think he was next.
That's what I was about.
All right,
to say.
SoCal Open, we're back.
And we're back. Hey, Kenny, how was SoCal Open?
So I just came back from this. It's cool. It'll let the wash dry a little bit. This is probably good timing. All right, SoCal Open obviously just happened. If you guys are not familiar with that, it's a ITC event, Frontline Gaming style. Obviously, you probably know what Frontline Gaming is and what ITC is. It's the first year they ran SoCal Open, trying out their new Del Mar Exhibition Center location down in San Diego. It was amazing. Great location, right across the street from a nice hotel. Great weather. Southern California, this time of year is amazing, down by the beach. Hobby was strong. They enforced a couple of new strong hobby rules, and they did it. They said if you had models that were unpainted in your army, and they're also trying to tell us the difference between 3-color minimum and tournament standard. They're trying to really encourage beyond 3-color minimum. And for the most part, the armies look good. Armies didn't suck. And they actually went around and pulled figures out of a couple people's armies that were unpainted. They said, hey, you can paint them tonight if you want, or even in between rounds, but you got to take them out of your army right now during this game.
Yo, I love this.
That's amazing.
I mean, I'm telling you, I can't endorse this move any more than saying fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was great to see. Haspil?
Yo, I'm just saying the same thing. Like, I'm a big fan of this. Like, finally they're talking. They're talking the talk and walking the walk.
And walking the walk.
Yeah, and no more of this like, oh, well, if your opponent was okay with it, like, no, grab a set of nuts and you take control of people that are in this room. I love it.
That's bringing hobby back to the extreme, because I know we've all seen those primered armies. Like, we're not going to see that anymore. They said it, they actually enforced it. They also, there was a hard DQ. And they stuck to it. Like, people found out it wasn't, oh, well, he was later on. We found out he was 3 points over, 3 tournaments in a row, 3 GTs in a row, 3 separate years in a row. No big deal. Tee-hee-hee. Like, no, they're doing it. Like, so mad kudos to Frontline for sticking to their guns, putting their money where their mouth is in the hobby, saying, hey, we're making a stand for bringing a hobby back. Like, this is what we've been talking about for years, and it's good to finally see it happening on the tabletop, and I cannot wait to see if it trickles down. I would expect to see it. I would personally talk about it if we do not see it at Adepticon, we do not see it at Nova Open, we do not see it at some of these other events. It was different when, say at the ATC, when it was a couple weeks right after all the rules dropped. Nobody knew which way was up. That's a different story. But now we've got our sea legs as best we can with stuff getting FAQ'd on the fly as much as it is. But there's no excuse to not have a fully painted army at these events, the end period.
Yeah, there's also, especially in 2017 with the wealth of internet tutorials on 3-color minimum, secretly easy, tournament tables, top standard, secretly easy. You may have heard of those videos, but they exist. No, there's Twitch. There's people live streaming helping you out. But, it looked good. It was the best I'd ever seen it. At an ITC level event, people were there to win, but also the armies look good. The armies are painted. The armies are based. I rolled out with a couple of my friends, my man Joe, my man Alan. Met up with a couple other friends, my friend Chris and my friend Michael, and we had a great time. We played 6 games. It looked strong. The missions were pretty cool. I like the balance on them. There's a few tweaks they could have made, as this is a sort of a beta test ground. I already filled out the survey for the things I think needed to change. Went into it at length during the webcast, so I'll just summarize it super quick. One of the major differences between the asymmetrical missions in the ITC and in Nova, on secondaries, you basically have a list of secondaries you can pick for your army's strengths against your opponent's weaknesses. And that can change every game. You pick 3 of them. At Nova, they can't stack, which means if you have picked a secondary like Kingslayer, which is like kill the warlord, and then you picked another secondary that's Headhunter, it's like you get a point for every character. You don't satisfy Headhunter and Kingslayer for killing the Warlord. They don't stack. What at ITC, at Frontline Gaming's event, they did stack, which was cool. I like that, but it absolutely hurt people in the wrong way. On paper, it seemed good until you realized, why would I never take a Forge One unit? Like it absolutely, and I think they were trying to like fix that. But then what happened is I'm like, hey man, literally, if I'm going to give up points and this and that, and you're going to stack against me, I'd rather take units that are way better than their points suggest, that have 10 times the offense capability of their 300 points or 100 or Decimator 150 points, Fire Raptor 400 points, that kind of thing. Scorpios, Whirlwinds, and Xiphons and stuff. So that was an issue that I put on there. Like, let's not stack these things. But outside of that, I liked it. I thought it was great. I thought the random deployment element was great. Randomizing your deployment every game. It was super fun times. I actually got to play on the live stream. Frontline Gaming invited me to play in live stream in round 3, so you guys can actually see that at Frontline Gaming on Twitch. I'll post a link up here somewhere this week. Actually, I pulled down a big W for my Twitch peoples. Killing some Castellan robot Death Star versus a good guy named Chris out of Scotland and Texas simultaneously. Dude was a cool guy. But yeah,
that's a tough armor to do that with. Kenny, I just want to hit on a couple points. One, dude, random deployment maps is huge.
Huge. Changes the game.
I've never heard of it before. This is at a major event. That is sick. Like, there's not just 3 deployment types that you get used to that are going to get cycled through. Like, literally, there's a chance you go 1 through 6. You could play for the first 3 games on maps, deployment styles that you're not used to whatsoever. I
played 3 times on the Dawn of War Arrow map. Like this, you know what I mean? The new Dawn of War.
Oh yeah. The point.
No, sorry, not Dawn of War. The Hammer and Anvil. I played 3 times on the Hammer and Anvil long ways with the arrow in the middle. So like 12 inches off on the sides, 27 in the middle, not the flat across the table 24, but the vast majority of your army is farther away from the opponent than traditional Dawn of War. So like,
yeah, because in the beginning there's this small area that's a little closer, but everybody else you can be further away.
That small area is only 3 inches closer. Like it's a rough map, right? So I played 3 times on that and had to come up with strategies to pull that down. I did get to play but conversely, I got to play 2 times on the Arrow Dawn of War, which puts you closer to the enemy than ever before. Like, that was a sick map because when you're playing the short ways, it's only 48 inches between you. And when there's a point in the middle of the table that's only 18 inches away from their deployment zone, so that really forces the flank, changes the game. You could take the center in a dominant position. So it balanced out. I got to play on really desirable maps, got to play on unknown territory, got to play on the weird quarters map once.
Huh.
So, I mean, it was like random mission generator. Like, the only thing we need now is pull out our Maelstrom decks and we can play a different game of 40K every time we play. So
after doing a major event, you endorse and would like to see potentially tournaments moving forward going random deployment zones.
I like it. Absolutely. As long as your tournament has enough space between tables that you have access to the short side. Like when tables are all stacked together.
Yeah. Nut to butt. Going in a straight line. Like, you got to be able to walk around the table.
Yeah. If you can't walk around the table, it can't be done. It's too much.
Okay. Lastly, terrain. Was there heavy line of sight blocking like we've seen it at Nova here on the East Coast and whatnot? Did they follow suit with that?
They upped the terrain by magnitudes. Like, it was so much better than it's ever been before. They came out just straight up and was like, yo, in our FAQ, on our tournaments, all bottom levels of all ruins, no matter what you see, is blocks on the site, the bottom floor. That was step 1. They also spent a couple of months upgrading their terrain in general to have even more line of sight blocking terrain. I played on a table that had all these crazy rock formations that were really easy to maneuver around and really cool looking. And they were not big enough to hide a Magnus, but they hid some stuff. They weren't big enough to hide a Helldrake, but they hid some stuff. And I remember Reese came over to me and he was like, hey, they would have been bigger, but that was as big as my foam cutter could do. so he's like, yo, I planned on making them bigger, but that's it. That's all I can do. So they care. They're really trying to create a different experience, because it turns out if like all your models can't see all my models unless they do a little shuffle here and there, the game's totally different. Much better. So yeah, all in all, really positive experience. Hang out with a lot of people. Got to play live on stream. Hung out with some guys all weekend. Got to grab drinks in the convention hall. Like, I strongly recommend SoCal Open to anybody in the future. And if these missions and this terrain format is a beta test for LVO, LVO is going to be the best year it's ever been.
Wow. I like it.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's jump into a commercial break, guys. Talk about this Craftworld Alaitoc.
ElrixHobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby. When you sign up at thelongwar.net, you gain an instant promotional discount good for 10% off at Elrix Hobbies. ElrixHobbies.com.
Dear veterans, quickly, make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
Veterans, I've got news for you. Get your best deals online at dicehead.com. Long War Vets, call or email for your best vet deals. That's dicehead.com.
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting stuff in this book. I mean, GW previewed a lot of things, and I don't think it all really started clicking until we started seeing more and more previews. But as we started breaking this stuff down, you know, we did this with Guard. There's just certain things that seem super strong, and one of them is just glaringly strong is Alaitoc, or however you say it. I'm sure Haspil will come in and correct me at some point because I can barely talk.
I think it's Alaitoc, but I'm not positive about that.
It might be, but I'm just going to continue to say it wrong until
I like to pronounce it Falzino.
No, this is actually a faction. This is a militant wing of the Grey Knights.
No.
Craftworld Grey Knights?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I guess I could just proxy my Grey Knights and counts as. Oh yeah, these look like Grey Knights, but I'm using the Eldar Codex.
I know what you're thinking, guys. No. So they're what is the word? So Craftworld ability confers out to everything, regardless if you're infantry, jet bike, what have you. If you are just Alaitoc, you are neg 1 to hit them if they are outside of 12 inches. That's just their standard Craftworld attribute, which in and of itself, we saw that with Raven Guard. We've seen that with other things. It's just strong, like the end period. There's no saying, hey, that's not strong, because we know how everything works the mechanic wise. Now, their Warlord trait, and we're going to get into this when I start getting on a tangent talking about Guardians, because I think Guardians are back. I think Rangers are strong too, which just happened to pair well with these guys in general. Their Warlord trait says as long as all friendly units within 6 inches of your Warlord are Alaitoc, so obviously don't get got, those units automatically pass morale checks. Why is that important? It's important because you can take Guardian blobs of 20, that there's all sorts of interesting buffs that we're going to get into, but they all just became fearless.
Yeah, come to find out, that might be one of the most powerful mechanics in the game right now. Would you go with me on that? Like, if we're talking like scaling 1 through 5,
I'd say the two number one things in 40K that are some of the most powerful elements of the game are the ability to deep strike and the ability to auto pass morale tests.
Yeah, I mean, it is just it is unreal. You're taking damage with, I don't care how good your save is. I don't care about any of that. It doesn't matter. You're just going to die to morale checks. You're just saying, I automatically pass this? That's unreal. Yeah. Come to find out, we just had a FAQ against Guard and making their units so fearless and so immune to this that they've had to tone it back. So a little foreshadowing, in my opinion, is on the wall here.
Now, parallels between the two. Conscripts are 3 points. These guys are 8 points, but still, there's a lot of buffs to be had. So first off, there's several ways to be fearless in general in just the Eldar army. One of the ways is to have an avatar, which theoretically he's untargetable because he's less than 10 wounds, but he confers the same ability out. I believe it's within 6 as well. There's also a psychic power that a Farseer can cast on himself. I think it's called Will of Asurion. That is a Warp Charge 5 power that all friendly Asuriani units, not just Alaitoc, Craftworld, or anything like that, within 6 are automatically pass morale checks until your next psychic phase. In addition, they're also +1, the Farseer themselves, to deny the witch as well. So neat little bonus right there. But that's a psychic power. So there's a couple of things there. Now, Alaitoc is great. There's also some ways for vehicles. If you advance, you take vectored engines, you're -1 to target a vehicle. So a lot of vehicles out there, such as wave serpents and things like that, if you're loading down with a payload and not using it as a gun platform and advancing, then you have the potential just right off the bat to be -2 to hit. If you're airborne or whatever, supersonic, there's theoretically a way you could be, I forget the rule, but you're also an additional -1 to hit. So you could be -3s. There's some.
You said you had to have vectored engines, right? So but you said there was a stratagem to be -1 to hit.
Yeah. So there is also a stratagem.
So Alaitoc is the Craftworld of now you see me, now you don't on the Magic Man.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's just so good. There is a stratagem. It's 2 command points. It applies to both infantry and units with the fly keyword. Subtract 1 from all hits to target the unit for the rest of the phase. Let's talk about Guardians and Rangers. I know Juice was jumping on those earlier. First off, the Guardians, 8 points. We talked about that already. There's some things you can play on them. First off would be there is a stratagem that gives them a Celestial Shield, targeted Guardian squad. Whenever an enemy in the shooting phase chooses them for the target of attack, you can play the stratagem. That unit now has a 4-up invulnerable save for the rest of the shooting phase.
So might be the single best buffed unit in Warhammer 40K right now. They are at a -2 to hit. Is that correct?
If they're Alaitoc, they would be
a -1. And then the command point?
Just be an Alaitoc. You could command point them for 2 to be an additional.
And now this same unit has a 4+ invulnerable save from firepower.
And they're probably fearless from some source. Fearless.
This is the epitome of a bubble wrap unit. It doesn't get any better.
It's super strong. They also have some offensive capability in the fact that there is a stratagem. Use a stratagem if a Suriani unit from your army falls back. That unit can still shoot and charge this turn. So that's for 2 command points. Now, don't get it twisted. 20 Guardians shirking catapults might not seem like a lot, but it could be a lot, especially when you got buffs. They can hit on +1s, then charge in. They don't have.
It's a lot. I was doing the Lord's work with conscripts rapid firing. It's a lot.
Yeah, and these guys on a 6, I believe there's an additional benefit to the catapults, which of course I don't know right off the top of my head. Give me 1 second. Shirking catapult says that each time you make a wound roll for 6, this hit is resolved at an AP of -3. So it's still 1 damage. It's still strength 4, which is way more respectable than a lasgun. They are, and here's another added benefit. They are assault 3. So you can still advance with them and shoot them at -1. Oh, damn, no.
Assault 3?
Assault 3 might be one of the most gangsterous things.
Excuse me.
So a 20-man unit.
Shirking catapult is assault 2, but still.
Oh, okay. I was like, holy shit.
I was like,
so 40 shots.
I was like, we need to go back to the beat slab juice.
Yep. All these guard models I've been buying and
actually
put together. They're all Alaitoc models. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean that's still solid. Assault 2, being able to shoot after you move. Remember, rapid fire you couldn't.
Sure, 40 shots with rending still is solid as shit.
Yeah. There's, if you take Ulthway, if you do, it is worth mentioning, there is a command point stratagem you can play to get +1 to hit rolls for the shooting phase. Yes, for the shooting phase. So there's a little bit of play all the way around on these guys, 100% for sure. Oh, I didn't tell you guys about this one. Check this out. There's a stratagem, and this is along the lines of some of the stuff that the cultists can do. Maybe not quite as strong. At the start of the first battle round, but before the turn has begun, pick up to 3 of your Cerniani units from your army that are on the battlefield. You may immediately remove these units from the battlefield and set them up again as described in the deployment section of the mission you are playing. If you redeploy a transport, all units embarked inside of it remain so when it's set up again.
That's a serious fucking strategy, bro.
Eldrad used to do this for your army.
Yeah. So a couple things. I mean, wow, how similar this sounds to Talaran Ambush. But with its own flair, and I love the fact that they actually caveated 2 vehicles to like, hey, no, don't worry that you think I'm going to actually FAQ that you can't do that, because I want you to know if this is a dedicated transport, you do just make sure that the guys are inside, they go with the vehicle, so there's no what happens to them. I like this. I like this a lot.
That's really strong for sure. I mean, so to recap where we're at so far, Alaitoc is it's the Alpha Legion, it's the Raven Guard, it's -1 to hit outside of 12, which is a really good power.
For everyone.
Not just tutors, but everyone. And so that obviously initial inspection means, oh wow, Wave Serpents. And Wave Serpents have the Serpent Shield, which is -1 to damage. So that's a good stack. And then you're telling me there's a vectored engine that is when this model advances, it's another -1. So potentially Wave Serpents can go first, get into a good position, advance. And Wave Serpents can have dudes inside of them, the transports. So you can put a bunch of Wave Serpents in the middle of the table, advance. -2 to hit, -1 damage. You could have all your Guardian blobs doing all sorts of cool things. Potentially some really valuable high priority target in your army could be -3 to hit this turn, like your Hemlock Wraith Fighter or something else really, really clutch. You can have the Wraith Knight coming up behind you. You can have Death Spinners chilling in the back, all sorts of cool things. Then you can move up you weather the storm pretty effectively. Then you can move all the Wave Serpents up, get all your little dudes out, pop all of your little Serpent Shields from mortal wounds, like basically smite, just across the table, just smite. Get out with all your fire dragons and whatever you got and just blast them to pieces.
Now the shield is the nearest visible enemy unit, so you would have to. Yeah, it's just like smite. You'd have to position,
but it's visible versus not. Yeah, and to be honest, I really love Fire Drakes for this. Kenny, main reason is because they're now the Shadow Specters for Forge World are a lot better than Fire Dragons in this aspect. Matter of fact, Shookman played him at Nova, and you want to talk about he did his thugness with the Shadow Specters. Wow, I mean, he definitely made me respect Yannari and 40 Shadow Specters or 35, whatever he had. But the concept still stands the same. I like Fire Dragons because they do great offense on single shots, high strength, low AP weapons, and great damage output. But then I love putting on all the X-Arches, the Fire Pike, to do the flame template or the flamer version instead of the 18-inch range. I like being able to repel enemies with flamers. I like having that variable, and it's 4 pocket heavy flamers, because that's what it's not a regular flamer, it's a heavy flamer. You're shooting if you get 4 squads out, we can bang down 16 basically Melta shots and 4 heavy flamers. That's substantial firepower.
Yeah, that kills a lot of things. And just you're used to saying high strength, low AP. It's actually high strength, high AP now.
Yeah, that's absolutely high strength, even higher AP, or high AP, even higher strength.
I want high everything. You want everything. I like it because you want everything to be a high number now.
That's a good point.
So much better.
I can't find this one. Some more food for thought is you could play the stratagem on this, whatever wave serpent gets targeted, for 2 command points, and it's a -1 because it's fly. Additional -1.
One thing, especially with all these command points out and everything else, I went out and I scooped up the Astra Militarum cards. Now, I've seen great. Talon use them. I've seen Dean use them for AdMech, and they were a must when I played WarCon last edition. Let me tell you what. Everyone, not just for anybody who play WarCon, if you play Warhammer 40K and they make cards, you have something, you need these. Stratagems are so much to keep up with. It is an absolute must in my opinion, because it's not just psychic abilities, it's not just warlord traits, it's not just stratagems, it's faction specific stratagems, regiment specific, vehicle specific. Get the cards. It'll make your life a whole lot easier.
Another unit I think we got a little bit of time to talk about is the Rangers, which can be fielded in squads of 10. They're 12 points each. They, still have their long rifle. They can pick out characters, even if it's not the closest unit. Roll a 6 to wound, inflicts a mortal wound. But they can just appear at the start of the first battle round up to 9 inches away, which is that deep strike mechanic. So get into those sweet little hiding spots.
Yeah, it's scary because it's like I said, deep strike is one of the strongest things in the game. This is not quite that, but it lets you put almost deep strike on a unit.
Kenny, would you go as far to say it's better than deep striking?
No.
Just hear me out. If you have the mirror match of deep strike, I would rather have this mechanic because guess what? I don't have to wait before it's my turn to put my models out, so I can counter deploy you on where you want to go.
So as a counter to deep strike, it's good. But I find myself always including the cheapest unit of infiltrators in my army possible, so I can not only do that to deep strike, but I can also do it to your fort operator. Because see what I'm saying? Because infiltrating happens in those are like Nurglings. I always have a 60-point unit of Nurglings because they deploy the same way, but during deployment. So I can put them where I want them to be. So your fort operatives can't be deployed and your deep strikes can't be deployed. So as a counter to deep strike, yeah, it's potentially good, but deep striking, doing it safely is what makes deep strike strong.
Yeah.
So a deep striking unit is about shooting. A fort operator is about shooting and assaulting. But you have to spend a command point to do it. And if you don't go first, it's not like you could just say, I'm going to come in next turn and you can't target me. So there's a balance there. But you're right, though. If all I had was deep striking units and all you have was fort operators, you could definitely counter me.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. Is I like the fact that the option rattling snipers haven't. I use them a lot. There's units. I've heard so many people say, "Oh, well, the Saint just won the game on Relic before," and I'm like, you have to build. There's a couple things that you have to when you're building your list. And I love the fact that you showcased your Nurgling unit. That's obviously pro tech right there. Is I don't build a list that will not move either before the game, deploy during the game, during movements, something. I am going to be able to block somebody from getting close to the relic if need be. The Saint isn't just going to be able to roll up on mine. There are tools in every book. Use them.
Yep, I 100% agree. Now, some more pairing these guys up with Alaitoc. Some more food for thought is they already have the cloaks, so you're -1 to target them for ranged weapons. They can target the unit. And of course, if you're outside of 12, which you probably should be, you're additional -1 because they're Alaitoc. 2 command points. They are an infantry unit. Then you're -3 to target them just right off the bat with no shenanigans. No.
Yeah, that's just unreal. And Rob B, just to make sure that cloak is already built.
How are they -3 with no shenanigans?
No, -2. -2 with no shenanigans.
Yeah,
So
-2 no shenanigans.
Well, I mean, you could play a stratagem. You
Sure,
actually
stratagem.
Yeah, stratagem
That's
is that's shenanigans. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So
Yeah,
day
you're
2 with
just
no
base.
shenanigans.
You've got a
3 with some
cloak.
Hmm?
You've got a cloak, and your cloak is black from Alaitoc, right? Alaitoc. And that's what gives you your -2.
But also they have
Yes.
a cover save too, a cover save buff, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
they do. If they're in cover, they're +2 to their save instead of +1.
Are they a 4 standard or a 5
They're
standard?
a 5 standard.
Oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah. So, the save isn't that. It's the same way with rattlings or anything else. Like, nah, whatever. But what I love is the fact that they're base -1, and then now with a cloak at an additional. So you're at -2. Robbie B, is that cloak built into their 12-point cost? Is that where we're at? I know you said it was the sniper and everything else.
Yes, sir.
Literally, this guy loaded as 12 points.
Pretty sure. Let me double check word gear.
Sure. So while you're doing that, dude, 10-man units of these are unreal, especially when you have the fearlessness of.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, cool. So not having to worry about losing 3 to 4 of your guys every game per unit now to morale checks is massive. I mean, that is almost indescribable because you're going to get the full offense of them. We know how strong sniper weapons are. They need to be in the game. You need to be able to point out individuals. You need to be able to do mortal wounds to armies, and to some units. I mean, I really, really like this 10-man unit for 120 points. Seems pretty good to me. It gives you, even if you only do it once, this gives you, or even if you're only going to do it once, I would do 2 5-mans then. But I would say that a ranger is definitely needs to be included in every army. Gives you maneuverability before the game starts. It gives you, the range weapons of sniper ability. I like them.
Now, there's also some additional shenanigans you can play on them. There's psychic abilities that buff up their saves. There's a stratagem you can play for 2 command points that they can only be targeted on a 6 if they are in cover. And there is also another psychic ability you can play on them. So it's -1 to hit them because they are in infantry. So lots of play with anything that's infantry and anything that needs additional saves, just regardless because of Eldar Psychers, the end period. They're pretty strong, I think, for 12 points. And the Guardian Blobs, I think we're going to see some of that.
Yeah, everything, all those stratagems you just said, 1 in every 20 games, something like that will come up. But if you remember that it's an option and you don't kick yourself later when you have 2 Rangers left and you're having to just weather the last turn 5 firepower.
You need to stand on this objective. And you need to remember that you can advance automatically for 6 inches over your 7-inch move with a stratagem. You need to remember that you can play a stratagem to only be hit on 6s. You need to remember those little clutch things.
Yeah, when you're talking about you're staring down the barrel of 12 mortars still, and you're like, literally, if I just, between bad dice rolling on the number of shots and I just stay alive, I win the game. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, your mortars now hit me on 6s. You've won the game now. But you got to remember, 1 in 20 games, probably that'll come up.
Here's a stratagem that comes up 1 in 20 games for me. It's there's a stratagem in the Chaos Codex, like Demon Shell, where if the dude is firing a bolter style weapon, instead of shooting the normal profile, you make a single roll to hit, and if it's successful, you do D3 mortal wounds to the target.
Oh,
but if you fail it, you take D3 yourself. Dude, that is one where I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? How do I pull this out? I have 1 command point. That's meaningless. Oh, sick. Here it is. Gotta bang down. I gotta bang this down. Roll a 3 to hit, and I gotta roll a 5 or 6 right now to do 3 mortal wounds to this thing. It's like a 1 in 20, and it works.
I love it. It's all about having the plan.
Yep, love it when a plan comes together. I'm just looking at some of the super heavies and stuff in the index.
Something worth talking about, Robbie B. You told us earlier, if I'm not mistaken, that everybody's favorite Wraith Knight did stay. Base cost was the same, but his Billy Badass sword did what?
Yeah, his beatdown sword it's 30. It's either 30 or 35 points cheaper. I forget.
That's massive.
The Ghostglaive went down 35 points to 30. Yeah. Also, his guns went up to strength 16 from strength 10.
Wait, did you say it went from 35 to 30?
Down by 35 points to 30. It used to be 65.
Oh, I was like, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, it's like literally he's a badass. And you can pop bubbles off to make him doubles attacks and shit. Yo, he's a beast.
Yeah, he can go in with his bare. I mean, it's just
he can ruin that ass.
I think everybody day one on those previews pretty much was like, oh well, I end in Wraith constructs could be a thing.
I ended to. I don't know like what those others do, but I'm just thinking. I'll talk right now. You want to talk about like wasting that extra -1 to hit on a unit? Literally, I push forward with 3 or 4 wave serpents and him, and all of a sudden they all have vector engines, so they're all at -2, and he is at a -2 because of my command point. I put it on him. That's solid.
Yeah, boy, that's what I'm talking about. That's
like,
that is an issue.
That is a massive fucking issue.
That's a problem.
Remember this for everybody who's like, oh, it's just a -2 to hit. Okay, Space Marines, you have a Devastator army, and you have 15 or 20 last cannons. You're like, it's fine. I'll just do that. Like now you hit on 5s.
Bleh.
Guard armies are hitting on 6s, bro.
Guard armies. Are you kidding me? Like my Earthshakers are pissed right now. I am literally hitting on 6s, re-rolling 1s.
And even this, even if you pull Cadian shenanigans where you're like, I finally did a wound, everyone hits on +1, still 5s.
Yep.
Still not good.
Yeah, I mean that is strong. -2 across the board. Look at how game changing. I just want to make sure everybody understands how strong this is. It was game changing what the Changeling was doing to us. The Changeling was like, people were having to build lists to go around that -1 bubble to Magnus. Now just imagine Magnus at -2, toughness 8.
Toughness 7, 3 up and vulnerable, rerolling 1s, -2 to hit.
Get
good, scrub.
Get good, homie. Like, yeah, it's gonna be an issue.
And Magnus doesn't do no 6 damage when he wounds you.
Nah, he doesn't. He doesn't have strength 16 guns. Okay.
Well, he is actually strength 16, but he's only
but not
6 damage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like no, literally a Wraith Knight coming across the table, doing 6 damage when it hits you, doubling its attacks because of an aura from a dude that you have hiding in a wave serpent that you pop out the last second is and -2 to hit. That's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Isn't there a guy that heals him too? Isn't there a dude that heals him?
Yeah, you can reroll 1s. You can heal D3, heal D1, or heal 1 a pop just automatically.
Yes. So that guy's running up behind him. P.S.
Yeah.
Last thing about how major this is. Remember, what was it? 3 or 4 shows ago, I was like, if we just had the buffs, endurance, invisibility of 6th and 7th edition, and we just ported them over to 8th edition, the game would actually be balanced, in my opinion. Those psychic abilities would actually be balanced. Everybody could probably agree that those 2 psychic abilities were massively game changing in 6th and 7th edition. You almost couldn't interact with stuff when it was like that. Fortune and all these things. When you are at a baseline -2, God forbid when you put, like you say, put an extra -1 to hit on a Hemlock or something like that, a -3, they're invisible.
And it's one thing to say, yo, this one unit is 6 to hit. How about my whole army is 6 to hit for some people?
Yeah, 5s to hit for everybody and 6s to hit for this one. Like my entire army is invisible. It is Shroud Psalm. It is Warcon Shroud Psalm. Like will be at least top 10 of every tournament that we'll see a version of this. Now, what do you do with it offensive-wise? That's not what we're talking about right now. We don't know what the best weapons are and the best unit. We're just saying what you need to have to play 40K. There's no defensive buffs like this. We have yet to see this this easy for each unit in your army. I am shocked.
Damn. Eldar, you sons of bitches.
You sons of bitch. It's so funny as Eldar last edition was super fast, running, super bunch of shooting. Maybe they're still all those things. But let me tell you right now is what it looks like is they're one of the most durable armies in the game. Little toughness 3 bastards.
Yeah, I'm liking this because it's just not overly just OP right off the bat. You still have to play stuff at the right times, which I think is going to be cool. There's fluffy ways to play. You can play the Guardian blocks. You can play the Wraith constructs. You can obviously splash in Rangers. I think the best armies out there are going to be combined arms, whereas you have, hey, some fast movers, hey, some forward operatives, hey, some artillery, or, some fire bases in the back, just like we're seeing with some of those guard lists, with some of those chaos lists. The tenets of 40K, we've talked about them, negs to hit, deep striking in, having bubble wraps to protect your sweet ass, stuff like that. Those are all things that you want to mix in the army to ensure competitive success and, a synergy of tactical options, whatever, tournament system or you're going to play in, or, you just want to have fun. Hey, throw a bunch of Guardians on the table, throw an Avatar on there, some Farseers, whatever you might still have and have fun. And you can do that too. Like there's no wrong way to play Eldar, but there's a lot of right ways too. And I'm kind of digging them now. I'm sad. I had a bunch of Ultway. I got rid of them. I couldn't play them in the old edition. And now I'm like, man, these guys seem fun, but that's the way it goes.
It's a different type of Eldar army for sure. And I'm excited. I think that everything has a fighting chance now. But I'm looking forward to breaking down more Eldar stuff throughout the week on Facebook, on Twitch, everything like that.
Hold on one second. Can we get a time check? Timestamp? One is that we have not bashed on Eldar this entire show. And Kenny just said he is excited to talk Eldar.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
How the times have changed.
Hey, I want to say Haspil plays Chaos too. So
I mean, it is
only in Shadespire.
Eighth. No, wait a second. No caveats to this. We'll just we're taking blankets.
What happens in Shadespire stays in Shadespire. That's the whole idea behind the entire.
That's the basics of the game.
All right, damn it, you got me there.
Yep.
Yeah. How the time has changed. How 8th edition has brought Kenny. Basically, Kenny's an Eldar player right now.
Yeah.
Look, motherfucker.
He's like, hey, look, don't take this too far now.
Yo, you've gone too far.
Yo, I'm excited. Everything is playable in 8th edition. This makes me happy.
It's easy. I only play army where the models in the army have jacked biceps.
Yep. So you're playing the Avatar.
Yeah.
and a Wraith Knight.
Yep.
Wraith Knights and Avatars, I guess.
Yep.
Anyway, I think we did it.
We did it. Haspil, take us out.
All right. In honor of Halloween, I was going to do something in honor of Crispin's Day, but that doesn't make sense because by the time people hear it, it'll be gone. So in honor of Halloween and the debut of Stranger Things, I'm going back to the 80s on this one. The foulest stench is in the air, the funk of 40,000 years, and grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. And though you fight to stay alive, your body starts to shiver, for no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller.